Okay, now we're going to look at a mixed plan, and here the mixed plan is defined as one with 12 workers, no ending inventories, okay, no safety stock, so stock is going to be 0. Then use overtime first and make up shortages if any, and then subcontracting. So we have to look at the requirements first. So demand, well, I should have the demand here. Let me write down the demands. These are given, of course, 400, 500, 550 and 700. So the requirement for the first month is 400 minus 150 minus 0 is 250. For the rest of the months, it is the demand. Now, capacity is for 12 workers. So we have 12 workers here. Twelve workers times 40 units per worker per month. So we calculated this early on. So 480. So capacity is 480, 480, 480 and 480. So we have the requirement and we have the capacity, and we have to now determine how much the production is going to be in each month. So remember the formula: production is the minimum. Okay, it's the minimum between requirement and capacity. So you compare these two. So you need only 250, even though you have a production capacity of 480. Remember, we're not going to have any inventory, so we produce only what is needed. Just because you have excess capacity, we're not going to produce and keep stuff in inventories, because that's the way we have defined that mixed plan. So here we can only produce 480, so the minimum is 480, 480. Now shortage, remember shortage is 1 requirement minus production. Minus. So this will be 250 minus 250 is 0. 500 minus 480 is 20. 550 minus 480 is 70. 700 minus 480 is 220. Now these are the shortages. Now we have to use overtime first. Then if we still have shortage, then we have to make that up using subcontracting. Now what is the capacity for overtime? Okay, let me write that down here. So overtime limit is 30% of production capacity. So that is equal to, so here when we are doing it at the level of month, it's easy. So the regular capacity is 480 each month, so that gives us 144 units. So overtime capacity is 144, 144, 44 and 144. So the actual overtime production is again like we have done previously. So this is minimum between shortage and overtime capacity. So here nothing is needed. Here 20, 70, and here we can only produce 144. So subcontracting here, shortage minus overtime production. So let me write that down here. SC needed is shortage minus overtime production. So that will be 0. So that will be 0. That will be 0. And you have 76. So you have to sum these. This is 234 for overtime and 76 for subcontracting. Now let's compute the cost. So we start with the regular wages. So we know that we have 12 workers, and they are each paid $19.20 a month per month for 4 months, and that number is 92,160. The overtime wages or overtime cost, let's call that cost. Overtime cost is for 234 units times what is the cost of production in overtime. So let's calculate that here. Overtime cost per unit is standard hours times overtime wage rate. Standard hours is 4 hours per unit, that's given, and overtime wage rate is $18 an hour, that's also given. So cost is $72 per unit. So every unit produced in overtime is going to cost you $72. So the total overtime cost is $16,848. And subcontracting, there are 76 units of subcontracting from here times $80, that's given in the problem, per unit. So that gives us $6,080. Now we have 12 workers right now. So we started out with our initial condition was initial number of workers. So let me write that way back here. So initial number of workers which is given is 8. So workers hired is 12 minus 8 equal to 4, and fired is 0. So 4 workers times $400 for hiring cost per worker given. So that will be $1,600. There is no firing cost, and safety stock is 0. So there is no carrying cost. The total cost is $116,688. Okay. So these are the 3 different costs that we have calculated, 3 different plans and 3 different costs. So we have Chase plan with a cost of $104,540. Level plan $107,440, and the mixed plan is $116,688. Now, even though the mixed plan is more expensive by about $12,000 or $9,000, this may still be preferable because you have level plan, no inventory, and you still have some additional capacities available. So this may be a preferred plan, but again, what we are interested in here is the process of going through the plans and costing the plans. Which plan is exactly preferable? It depends on individual circumstance and what are the desirable features in the plan. Cost being definitely one of the features, but there are other things that you have to take into account.